The problems facing New Zealand's primary sector have been mounting at a rapid pace. So I think it's time for open hearts and open minds. Welcome to Sarah's Country for another week, a shorter week that is. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter break, hunting for Easter eggs with children, getting projects done from around the house, or catching up with your neighbours by parking across the road to share a beer rather than across the fence. If this is your first time tonight to Sarah's Country, I say welcome. It's certainly been an encouraging journey so far, with so many of the repeat offenders I see in the comments below joining us every night, and of course new faces. So we're just going to test out who's here. Give us the old wave emoji or the thumbs up, just so I can see and call out and see who's watching across Facebook, YouTube, and 10 plus different platforms right now across the web. So I want to see, give us a wave. We're live, of course, every night, Monday through Thursday normally, and of course on farmersweekly.co.nz. Now, I spent Easter with our new team member, Megan, based now in the UK. So basically, she comes in and gets all of the shows on demand overnight while we're sleeping. Clever. So we're all up to date now with our video and podcasts complete for you to catch up on from the last 2 weeks. And as of tomorrow, each night will be there in your hands, ready to listen on podcast when you wake up. Talking about waking up, who has had those sleepless nights? You know, sometimes it's just there's too many worries running through your head, or it's simply the dog you said you were going to stop sleeping on the bed, tossing and turning, or like last night, hailstorms, like horrendously loud, pour down, then stop, then back again the next hour. That was what it was like for us here in Canterbury. How was the storm around the country? Let me know in the comments below. And some places didn't get anything. I heard it was negative 2 degrees this morning in Middlemarch, and there was a drift of white powder on Mount Pizer and Cromwell. This is, of course, an interactive show, so please, let me know what sort of morning temperature. Was it really a record cold for 2020 so far? Did you get a whisker of rain, or absolutely nothing at all? Let me know in the comments. I want to know that you're here and you're watching with us, of course, on Farmers Weekly website as well. So as I was saying, those, they'll wake you up at 3 a.m, those bloody hailstorms. So I decided to pull out an appropriately named book, Many a Muddy Morning. The author, one Mark Warren of Waipara Station in Hawke's Bay, texts me every single month saying, "You read that book yet?" This book. Here, Many a Muddy Morning. So I decided to get stuck into it. Got up to page 67 actually. And I can tell you what, it is actually a really good book, Mark. Well done. But I'll read you my favourite paragraph I read this morning and I had a chuckle. A tall, lanky, overconfident and highly opinionated ex-Christ college boy was not what was required in the job description as a junior shepherd, and for my part it was a rude awakening to discover that formal education counted for very little in the rough and tumble environment of a big high country station. So it's obviously not read like that, but of course it's a lot of wonderful tales. So it got me thinking that Oprah's got her book club. I want a book club. So let me know in the comments below. I'm really starting to get seriously into for this winter stories of rural New Zealand, our history. It's our history that we should recommend we each read and tell and continue to share with our own. Let me know what are some good books to read that really get into that. Okay, coming up in Sarah's Country, I have these daily moments where I just sit there pondering and think, so I want to let you know what got me thinking today. Today was about how the human race fight for economic survival after being afforded the past decade of prosperity that has been afforded to them from the prosperity of our food and fibre sector. And now that's all changed their value systems, hasn't it? So after 7:20, we're going to head to North Canterbury to drop in with a great mate of mine, Penny Clark Hall. Love this girl. She knows a thing or two about the term social licence to operate, and I want to know if that social licence has changed now that we're suffering some economic downturn. And this whole "they need us" movement, which is brewing across New Zealand farmers, and I'm not really liking it too much. We really also need to make sure we don't take our foot off the progress we are making in our environment stewardship to lead the world in the years to come. At 7:30, we want to deep dive into our rural community's wellbeing with Farm Strong project lead Jared Vaughan on everything from the benefits of friendly cups of tea to laughter yoga. And then to end the show at 7:40, we discuss ways to encourage more people into the horticulture sector with Chris Webb from the Royal New Zealand Institute of Horticulture, and that there is more than just picking. Talking about the poll tonight is, are we doing enough to attract the unemployed into the primary sector? We have a poll running on the Farmers Weekly website as well as the Farmers Weekly Facebook page, and we'll get to some of those results soon. All that after this lovely message to our wonderful meat workers produced by the good people at FMG. We're going to be joined by CEO for Silver Fern Farms, Simon Lima, who's going to be taking all of your questions live on the unexpected challenges we're currently facing that's affecting processing capacities, running currently at only 50%. So drop your questions below now for Simon. And thanks now to FMG.
This is Sarah's Country.
G'day, I'm James Stewart. I'm a dairy farmer in the mighty Manawatu. We've had a pretty tough summer with drought conditions this year, and now we're facing a lot of uncertainty and disruption with the COVID-19 virus. So while we can continue to farm on, we really want to acknowledge and thank the people that are helping us get on with what we're doing. So from the truck drivers, the factory workers, the distribution networks that are putting the produce and food around the country and the globe, a big thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Richard Lowry.
I'm Josh.
I'm Hayden.
We just want to give a big shout out to all you freezing workers. We feel extremely grateful and pleased that you're continuing to do your job under these difficult circumstances. If you weren't, lambs like these wouldn't be getting processed for people, farmers like us. And without that, we're in trouble, and the whole of New Zealand will be in big parts of the world because we'll very, very quickly be hungry.
Hi, I'm Marina. We're sheep and beef farmers in Waiau, North Canterbury, and I just wanted to acknowledge the work of the men and women in our processing plants around New Zealand who are helping to take our product from the farm and offer it up to the tables in New Zealand.
Hi, I'm Will Taylor. I'm a sheep farmer in the Manawatu. I just wanted to say a big shout out and a big thank you to all of the meat processors and truck drivers who have been helping to take our meat off farm and get it onto the supermarket shelves. We all know that farmers have gone through a pretty tough drought lately, and now with the COVID-19 going on, we've still got a lot of stock on farm that we need to get rid of and get onto supermarket shelves and onto everybody's plates for dinner at the end of the day.
We know a fella that's still getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and heading off for his day's work like he always does, and he's pretty happy about that. And yeah, that's cool.
I also want to acknowledge the on-farm supplies that are still able to come out onto our farms and the breakdown crews. Without you guys, we couldn't do our jobs.
We just want to say thank you. Without you guys doing your bit, what we do here doesn't count.
Without the meat workers and the truck drivers, we'd all be going a wee bit hungry, so a big thank you to you guys. You do make a bloody good job of getting our meat out to our local supermarkets and the international markets, so thank you again.
Just keep up the hard work and we'll all get through this together. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
So cheers, thank you very much, and stay safe.
So thanks.
So our poll tonight is, of course, are we doing enough to attract unemployed into the primary sector? I want to go to Farmers Weekly and check out how the poll's going. I know over on the Farmers Weekly website, it's strongly saying no, we need to be doing more to attract more into people, especially now with the rise of unemployed people into our sector. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below on how we're not attracting and what your suggestions are, what we can do about that. Just having a look here. Yes, 88% of you on the Farmers Weekly Facebook page are saying that we are not doing enough to attract the unemployed into the primary sector. Here is a wonderful opportunity. As Nathan Guy said back in 2014, I think it was, we need 50,000 more people by 2025. Now, we're just going to change the order around a little bit while we get Simon Limmer up from Silver Fern Farms. We're going to jump to North Canterbury to talk to Penny Clark-Hall. Now, going back in history, the National Business Review in 2013 argued that the concept of social licence should be viewed suspiciously, as we already have a social licence permitted through laws passed by our Parliament, of course, our elected representatives. Yet I question, in 2017, the Labour Party campaigned on people's democracy to have been afforded the right to a social licence and how we farm and grow food here in this country, even before it's been permitted into law. So that's I've been thinking. I'm starting to sound like Hosking, but I want to know, from the experts here about, has our society's values evolved and changed to new perceptions of our industry that feeds them? And with the rise of their new values around well-being and environment, and because they haven't had to think about pure survival. This time afforded to our society due to our economic prosperity from our record exports. But now we're looking at a new normal post-COVID-19 with a wrecked economy and a mass amount of unemployment. So will the pressure come off the accelerator to pile more policy on farmers? To understand the concept, we have Penny Clark-Hall to discuss. Penny is New Zealand's very first social licence consultant. Penny, you're looking very beautiful there from your home on the farm in North Canterbury. How's the wee smush tonight? She had tucked up in bed?
Found in the living room. Post-bath, so not quite.
She's gorgeous, gorgeous. Can you firstly explain Engelbert's theory around sort of what I was just discussing in that intro?
Yeah, so Engelhart's theory is basically that the world can be divided up by traditional versus secular rational values and survival versus self-expression values. So it's on a graph like this. So countries like New Zealand, the US, Sweden, Denmark, etc., sit quite high on the self-expression values, which is driven by economic security. And then on the vertical line, you've got your traditional versus rational values. And so we sit quite high on the rational value as well. And basically what that means is, so we've moved from post-war where we were valuing economic security, where industry got a free pass, essentially. So laws and regulation were pretty loose. It was about driving the economy. And since that economic security has been achieved, society's values evolved into those higher level moral values, and those sorts of things start to be pulled into question. And that, as we know, public perceptions drive regulation. So those values that they have are quite important and have resulted in the primary sector facing increasing regulation to bring us in line with public values.
Why should farmers and growers care about the concept of social licence? It really saddened me to hear one farmer recently say, I send all my product to China, so why should I care about feeding New Zealand when they treat me like shit anyway? Why is it important that we have the whole of ourselves as a country around how and what we do and why we do and where we can evolve and change?
Well, it's a real shame to hear that, because the primary sector uses natural resources that the whole country relies on. So it's not just about using and abusing or using and respecting, whatever way the farmer goes. These water and earth and climate, it's all important to the people that live in this country. And if you rely on natural resources to make a living, you have to respect the fact that you are being granted the use of those resources by the whole country. They should care about social license, because if they haven't been living under a rock for the past 10 years, they'll know that public perceptions have been driving regulation against their industry government having to introduce regulation to pull the industry into line with society values. So if you can get ahead of that and be more proactive and respectful of the country and the people that you live with, you can take a more of a leadership role and not be controlled by government regulation. So I guess it's just about being smarter about how you do things and more respectful of the people that are involved or impacted by your business.
So a lot of this fantastic information is in Penny's recent Kellogg's report that you can get on the Rural Leaders website. Penny, you say that perceptions and values are led by the heart, not the head, which to date you are saying that is where New Zealand's primary sector has got it wrong. What do you mean by that?
I think people have been trying in the primary sector, started out by trying to argue with facts, whereas public perceptions and values are driven by their experiences. So everybody's values and experiences and perceptions are they're slanted by a lens of life experience, if that makes sense. And so trying to come at it from your background and giving your facts is not really putting yourselves in their shoes and having that empathy to understand where people are coming from. If you want to capture hearts and minds, which is a lot of what this is all about, it's about having that empathy and ability to look at issues from different perspectives and lenses and life experiences.
Do you think this is an opportune time for us to rebuild severed relationships, if they are even effectively that, with our urbanised New Zealanders?
Absolutely. I think this has been a real gift to the primary sector in terms of social licence. So we currently have a country now that is focused on survival and also need entertainment because we're all locked inside and looking for things to do. Traditionally, we haven't had an urban audience that are really interested in listening to what the primary sector has to say. So right now, you've got a more empathetic and respectful urban audience who are grateful for the food the food security that they have. And they also trolling the internet looking for an escape from their lockdown. So we have an opportunity to leverage off their positive vibes going towards the sector to start telling our story, and also making sure that we are not abusing the opportunity by, bathing in the glory of it all and continuing to be what we say we are, which is the backbone of the economy, which is about getting on and doing it and doing the right thing, and not show ponying about it.
Couldn't have been spoken better. That's Penny Clark-Hall. She's New Zealand's first social licence consultant, with a very clear message there: stay humble. All right, now back to this book club. I'm getting some great comments below on things that I should read. The Share Milkers by N.D. Thompson from Sandra Campbell has come in. She hasn't read it a long time, but the story is in her bones and the land. I want to hear lots more of your book recommendations in Sarah's book club. Oprah's got one, I want one. And it's all because, as if you've missed the start of the show, I've just got stuck in finally to Many a Muddy Morning by the character himself, Mr. Mark Warren. It is a very entertaining read and features a lot of very familiar parts of the South Island High Country, I must say. So I want to let me know in the comments below. Now, after the break, we can hopefully head south to Dunedin to get Simon Limmer, the CEO for Silver Fern Farms, on the line to talk about this unprecedented processing capacity stress that we're under and take all of your questions directly to him.
This is Sarah's Country.
Even when everything changes, some things will always stay the same. The cows still need milking, the economy still needs dairy, and dairy farmers will always have what it takes. Whatever you need to keep milking, our job during the lockdown is to get it to you, because we know what it takes.
Aotearoa, New Zealand has always been a land that has provided for its people, a land of abundance and opportunity. Our dedicated team at Ag Research know that embracing kaitiakitanga will see this continue for future generations. The work we do is transforming the way we farm and revolutionising the way New Zealanders care for our animals and for our land. We work hard to create the world's most desirable food and bio-based products through smart, sustainable farming, led by some of the world's most phenomenal research and informed by the consumers who benefit from this passion. Through a focus on environmental sustainability and climate change initiatives, this passion will allow our work to continue for generations to come. Our proficiencies in research run wide, from seeds to pest control, high-value food production to practical farming systems and quality assurance. From the smallest rural land use project to international research programs, our science and technology innovations drive the prosperity of our precious agricultural sector. It's through this research that New Zealand retains its position as a scientifically advanced global agricultural leader. Our commitment to the growth of our wider New Zealand economy, its people, and the kaitiakitanga of Aotearoa is at the very heart of every scientific innovation and creation we deliver. Ag Research, firmly grounded in this land, these waters, looking to what's in the stars and the future. Ata Matai, Matai Whetu.
Really pleased we got into this. Thanks for your help, Dave.
It's a good idea, honey. You reckon it'll come out? Cover it and tell Compal to leave it 10 minutes. You'll be fine. Good call, Dave.
Good call on getting those security cameras, Dave.
You call a new one yet?
Yeah, kind of.
When you've got decisions to make, we'll be there to help you make the right call.
I'd go for those ones, Bob. Yeah, good call.
Did you choose these?
Oh, you know.
For great advice and insurance, talk to FMG.
This is Sarah's Country.
Oh, again, we've got record numbers watching Sarah's Country tonight. Go, you guys. Maybe it's the cold weather, or maybe you're just finally finding out about Sarah's Country live Monday through Thursday from 7 o'clock across all the platforms, Sarah Perium and Farmers Weekly platforms. Loving your comments below here, because this show is all about you, of course. It's bringing your voices to your industry leaders about matters that matter most. Stuart McIntyre has said, look, it's export market reality as well as domestic. Consumers increasingly want us to prove we're bringing food to them ethically and sustainably. And that is if you've just missed it after Penny Clark Hall's wise words there before. Gretchen says, awesome work, Penny, well explained and so apt right now. Now, I want to, of course, know, as I was saying, about books that I should be reading and the other audience that really capture our rural New Zealand history, a nice wee slice of our rural New Zealand history to get stuck into this winter. And of course, our poll over on Facebook on Farmers Weekly, and of course on the the Farmers Weekly website. The question tonight is, are we doing enough to attract our rising unemployed into the primary sector? We've all been going on for years about the need to attract more, and then the growing job labour shortages that we have been facing. So now is our time to be able to attract them. I want to know in the comments below if you've got suggestions on how we can better do that as well. So just looking at the poll, I think we're sitting still around that 80% saying no, we're not doing a good enough job. We've finally got Simon Lemmer on the phone from Silver Fern Farms. Of course, we know the best way to test a farmer's patience is pull their ability to process their stock. Now, Silver Fern Farms are working hard on stabilising their new processing levels in this extreme and unpredictable situation, and want to thank farmers for exactly that, their patience. It's not just about getting through level 4 lockdown, grinding processing capacities back to some 50%. It's also, how do we bounce back with an unprecedented, are you sick of that word yet? I am, backlog. Welcome to Sarah's Country, Simon. Thank you so much for your patience in connecting us tonight.
No worries, Sarah. It's a pleasure to join you.
Thank you. We've got obviously a stack of questions. You would only imagine you've been extremely a busy man at the helm of Silver Fern Farms over the last coming months, and I'm sure it has been evolving. Now, I just want to go through all of those because it is, of course, about the audience and what they want to know. Of course, this is following your regular supplier updates that you've been sending out as well. Now, Jeff wants to know, what will level 3 restrictions look like in the processing plant?
Well, it's a really good question, Jeff, because it's something that we still need to work through with MPI and with MIA. As you have already pointed out, we've taken quite a significant step back from a productivity perspective as of 3 weeks ago. But I can tell you that little by little, as the plants have got used to the new operating protocols, they've managed to drive those productivity levels higher and higher. And we're getting back to levels of capacity that we're actually quite satisfied with under the new protocols. But the first thing that we need to be really focused on when we go to level 3 is, can we continue to protect our people who are the real heroes in all of this? Because you mentioned the supplier's patience. That's absolutely true. But getting our people to work in a scenario when they're under lockdown has been quite a major shift for us. So first of all, giving them confidence that their welfare is our number one priority is really critical.
So we had Mel Crode from Agri HQ on the show last week, and James was listening to that podcast episode, and he said, well, she talked a lot about the 6-week waiting space for cow, but doesn't seem to think that that's right for prime or bull, and some plants aren't even processing bull at all at the moment. Is that correct?
No, we're processing across the whole country. The North Island and the South Island, the waiting times are a little bit different. That's just a function of what often happens. What we are seeing, a lot of what we're seeing is market related as well. So as you know, there's been a big shift in the market away from food services, which is typically those prime cuts, so the steak cuts, the tenderloins, all of those high-end items. And it's more of a retail focus at the moment because people are eating at home. So that has shifted the market demand a little bit, but from a processing perspective, it hasn't really changed things too much from our side. But North Island waiting time is still relatively long at 2 to 3 weeks, and it's even worse than the South Island just at the moment, 4 to 6 weeks. But we're working through those, and really it's just a matter of the suppliers staying in close contact with their livestock reps and ensuring that they're clear on what the plans are looking like.
Okay, well, I suppose this gets into a chunky question from Linda. She's trying to get her head around, usually when market demand is dropping overseas, store prices weaken here at home, and we tend to reduce capacity to limit our exposure to these markets. Yet right now, the market's in turmoil, and we're still trying to keep that capacity pumping through amid long wait times and falling farm gate prices.
So I think, there's
a lot of things getting
quite a lengthy question.
Yes,
A lot going on there. I think the first thing is that we really, the best thing we can do for farmers is reflect what's going on in the markets back through the processing costs, the schedule prices. So we really do endeavour to send those market signals back to farmers based on what the reality is as to what their product's earning in the market. I think the second thing is that we live with the reality that as a grass-fed producing nation, the grass curve is really defining when livestock is ready for processing, and therefore capacity is also driven by the sheer reality that volumes coming on around Christmas time and through that autumn period. So we're still living with that capacity issue at the moment. So it's just the balancing act between what the market returns are looking like and our ability to process with capacity at that time.
Animal welfare has obviously been very predominant, with the focus on the essential service of independent butchers being in the spotlight. Of course, we're going into a period of cull cows as dairy farmers are drying off. Are you helping to prioritise them over prime stock?
Yeah, look, I think the priority here really just needs to be the availability of feed for farmers. I think, everyone's circumstance is a little bit different, and as we move around the country, we're seeing different pressures coming to bear on farmers and on our processing capacity. So we're not necessarily prioritising based on anything beyond that. And of course, again, it just comes back to those guys working very closely with their livestock teams and ensuring that they have clarity as to what the timing is and make plans accordingly.
Yeah, that's the thing. I spoke to Rob Hewitt, chairman of Silver Fern Farms, some weeks back on the podcast, Simon, was about this being an important time around shareholder loyalty in terms of space. Is that still very much the case around prioritising of shareholders first?
Yeah, we're obviously working with people who have been part of our team for a long, long time, and typically they're long-term suppliers and typically they're shareholders, and they've got very strong relationships with the company, and they're able to make their plans accordingly. I think that's a really important relationship, and it just holds that those people who are probably working hand in hand with the company are going to get a better outcome at the end of the day.
Sorry about that. So what would be some of the key messages that you would like to get out to farmers at the moment who are starting to get extremely frustrated with space, and how to accordingly sort of plan the best they can?
Well, I think, the first thing that they need to be doing is working very closely with their livestock reps, ensuring that their needs are clearly understood, understanding what the capacity is of the various different processing plants in their regions, and ensuring that they get a sense as to what the waiting time could be so that they can plan accordingly. Probably they may have certain stock that they need to get off earlier than others. It's really just a matter of trying to work into a system which is very complicated at the moment. And I don't want to say it again, but these are unprecedented times, as you mentioned earlier. We're doing everything that we can. We have worked over the Easter period for the first time in living memory, from what I'm told. We've got overtime. We're putting on additional capacity to the best of our ability. Again, though, our first responsibility is making sure that we're keeping our people safe in the plants. And then our second responsibility is to making sure that we're prioritising those farmers who are under real pressure at the moment. So I think if people can understand that that's the reality of the situation, then they'll be well served.
Can I just say, on behalf of rural New Zealand, thank you so much to you, Simon, for all of the hard work that you and your team are putting in. Very much from the deep part of our hearts, we all appreciate that. It certainly would not be an easy job right now. So thank you so much for taking the time to join Ceres Country tonight, and we look forward to catching up soon.
Thanks, Sarah. It's a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Cheers. Now, after the break, we're talking about other ways to relax from the stresses of life, other than a good book, as the nights get colder and we go into winter hibernation. Perfectly timed after isolation. With a good bugger, Jared Vaughan from Farmstrong.
This is Ceres Country.
Dear New Zealand.
We know things are really tough out there right now.
People are concerned about their health and the health of their loved ones.
People are worried about the economy and when will things get back to normal. Believe me when I say, us farmers are feeling it too. But now's no time to panic.
Our country can get through this together.
We just need to follow instructions and stay home.
Inside our bubble.
Let's flatten this curve and stop this disease spreading.
Together!
You don't need to worry about supermarkets getting low on food. There's plenty to go around for
everyone!
All the countries that could run out of food, New Zealand is not one of them.
Our farmers are world leading.
And we're damn good at what we do, producing high quality food.
We have strong supply lines.
And we're all working hard to keep food on the table. For your family and for ours. New Zealand dairy farmers produce enough for 100 million people.
You're in good hands, New Zealand.
You can count on us to keep calm and carry on farming.
We're trusting you to stay at home to keep our country safe.
We are following the rules too.
We can do this!
We're all in this together.
Cheers, New Zealand.
Delicious. Ever wondered where it starts? Does it start with care? Respect. Fresh grass 365 days a year. The truth is, delicious doesn't start in a single moment or with a single ingredient. Delicious starts here.
One of the first things you learn when you live out here
is where to shop for the things you need to live out here.
like electric fencing,
or horse feed,
or bee suits,
children,
Chook food.
Do you want a couple of these?
or something stylish to wear. Not everyone's got stuff like this,
but at Farmlands we do, and then some.
So if you need anything to help you farm,
grow,
Milk, dredge,
Rhea, come on in.
because we're out here too.
You may be wondering what was going on there, and I've forgotten a few things tonight. There was one earlier as well, and there's one after the next ad break as well. We have been sent in some awesome videos from Lucy of her father, Gareth Coleman, a sheep and beef farmer from Dannyverk, doing a bit of feed art, feeding maize out via a hopper off the back of his quad bike. And he's been practicing some different designs there. That was an Easter egg, and I think there was a kiwi and another one coming up as well. So please, if you've got some super cool things that are happening around rural New Zealand, can you just give me a wee hashtag or at Sarah Perham on Instagram? I find these things and put them up, and I've got a hilarious video for you tomorrow as well about how this is the year 2020 for farm girls. So make sure you check us out tomorrow. Another thing I've forgotten, I haven't jumped into the bunker to check on the Irishman. Joel, can I tell you a yarn?
Go for it.
There's a group of Kiwi farmers out there. I'm not allowed to know their names or the valley that they farm in, but they have a secret yoga hideout in their local hall, and they tell their mates and their wives they're just going for a few beers.
Oh, really?
And they love their weekly retreat to just have a bit of wellness, bit of me time. I mean, I know you like yoga. You know, your middies helping you stretch your limbs in your inner city Christchurch apartment over Easter. Have you ever tried kitten yoga?
I haven't tried kitten yoga.
Kitten yoga.
Yeah, so that's the one where the cats are climbing all over you while you're doing it?
You're in some funny positions, and then there's these cats, just cute little kittens running around. It sounds absolutely mad, but you were telling me about another type of yoga you've been...
laughter yoga. Now, that is probably my favourite type of yoga. There's very little stretching, and you basically just start pretending to laugh, and then after
20 minutes you're like bawling on the floor, and it's hilarious, and it's honestly one of the most cathartic things I've ever done.
Because once you start like fake laughing,
Yeah.
you just naturally endorphins lift, and all of a sudden you're just laughing at the fact that you're laughing at yourself for laughing.
And you're laughing at everyone in the class, and it's contagious. It's great fun. No, you come out of it feeling so good.
No, it's an important time to check in each other and inside ourselves. So I dropped a text to a great guy that's very passionate about keeping rural New Zealand's wellbeing alive, Jared Vaughan, who's the project lead at Farmstrong and joins us now. We're going to have some great videos on what Farmstrong are up to play out tomorrow night, providing some great advice from people I love like Sarah Donaldson and around some tips around wellbeing. So Jared joins us. What are some of those key messages this time round, especially as we keep talking on the show about the perfect storm?
That's right, actually. I mean, Farmstrong's just coming up for 5 years, so a lot of the same things that we've been promoting and sharing to farmers is it's still really relevant, but just focused on the importance of doing some of those things. So, a couple of things that I'd really recommend at the moment is, be clear about what you can control and what you can't control. That's just a really good a good strategy. And I think then focus on the things that really matter. And we're hearing lots of good stories around what people are learning, from this period. I think the other one is around, a framework like the 5 Ways to Wellbeing is a really good one. So just those simple habits around connecting, learning, being active, appreciating the things that are really good in your life and your world. That they're similar to what you were just talking about around contagious laughing. Negative emotions are also contagious, and so at times like this, we probably do have to hunt a bit more for the positive things that are going on. But it's really worth doing regularly, and actually giving. In terms of the 5th way to wellbeing, giving is a really good thing, and we're seeing a lot of giving at the moment, even people sacrificing things for a greater good, for the nation, and those are all really good things for your well-being.
I need to ask, you just said about controlling what you can control. Have you lost your razor?
I have. No, I haven't actually, but I've made it. The things you do when you're bored, eh? So I decided when we come out of lockdown, I'll shave off my beard, and I'm hoping that it happens, well before Christmas, because I could get a job handing out presents, or else I could get a, job, and I've dusted off my guitar. I could get a job playing for ZZ Top, if it goes on too long. So.
Yeah. Now, one thing I really want to delve into, my sister Ellie, well, we had a good old Saturday night sister catch up talking about the world. We're talking a lot about personal responsibilities of your circumstances. And how we're so quick to blame our circumstances, and that being sometimes the first turning point for people to grapple our control of their situation.
No, that's right. I think to be realistic around what you can control and what you can't, and I think also to be sort of thinking through what you can influence. My cat has just jumped on the table, and I think he's going to knock off this iPhone, but no, I've just pushed them away very gently.
That's great. Yeah, and gratitude, of course, is a huge part of it. I tell you what, the one thing that I'm getting a huge reward from is I have a list of people that I want to check in with, and I've just been ticking off my list, and I get gratitude, and that's that good feel-good thing from just reaching out to people. We need to find that time in our busy lives and not just expect the phone to ring to us as well.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, the benefit of giving is actually more for the giver than the person who receives. And I've actually been doing that myself, as I've reconnected with people that I've been out of touch with for a long time, and it's been as simple as just sending a text and saying, "How are you getting on?" And it's been fantastic, and it's really helped me, I think, with just some of the need for social connection during a time when we can't be physically close to people. I know that will be quite tough on a lot of farmers. A lot of social events have been cancelled. It'll be a while before before they start to happen again. So I think looking at other ways, we done a great story on a farmer in the Wairarapa who's a rugby coach as well, and he's running virtual training programs, for his team because he still wants to win the competition, where they can start playing again. So he's got them doing the drills through Facebook, and he said he wasn't particularly technology savvy, but he's learned real quick because he's realised that if he doesn't still invest in that, he'll just go back to how he used to, which was just working all the time. And he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we've blamed isolation, even though we've been sitting on the technology to be able to do this, but now it's forced us to. We're actually seeing we've had this all along. That's the bit I'm really intrigued with.
Yeah, no, right. And actually, there's lots of people who really feel very isolated, living and surrounded by lots of people. So a lot of that's around also your mindset and around the quality of your relationships. And I think this is a time that can really challenge, some of our intimate relationships as well. That maybe we're spending more time with people in close proximity than what we're used to, and it can, that can create challenges and tensions. But I think we're definitely getting feedback that when people are starting to really come back to what's really important, it is coming back to the relationships, the quality of their relationships, and people who are starting to think of it as this as an opportunity rather than just a total threat, but they're seeing the opportunity to actually strengthen those relationships and value them a lot more and prioritise them. So that's definitely a good way. That's good for your well-being.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jared, beard and all. That's Jared Vaughan from Farm Strong. Now, to close the show, we're going to find out about our horticulture sector and it's how it can continue to soak up the unemployed, not just on the front line of harvest, with Chris Webb next from the Royal New Zealand Institute of Horticulture.
This is Sarah's Country.
What we do, day in and day out, is not easy. And a lot of us have felt singled out. To be honest, it's felt a bit unfair. But curiously, all the talk is a sign of something we need to take notice of. In a good way. A changing world. A world that we, the farmers, growers, fishers, makers and crafters of Aotearoa New Zealand can prosper in together, instead of each of us trying to go it alone. Now we have a plan that within a generation will get us fit for a better world, to help us focus on the world's most discerning consumers, providing them with the outstanding, ethically produced food, drinks and natural fibres that we grow, make, catch and craft. We have a way, the Māori concept of taiao. It's all about forging a deep relationship with the natural world. As Kiwis, we absolutely get this, but we can do better. Putting the climate, land, water and living systems first is in our nature. Taiao will guide and connect us to regenerate, be outstanding and celebrate our New Zealandness in everything we do. We have a future, an enriched future, where we will own our part and lead the change for our country, our collective prosperity and for our children. All of us, farmers, growers, fishers, makers and crafters will need to get involved to encourage others to step up and win the world over like we have done many, many times before. Making this happen starts with a commitment that you and the person beside you and the person beside them can own this together. You can shape this. We can shape this by thinking about how you can apply taiao to what you do.
It's time to work together
and change your world.
Our world.
Let's make it our business
to shape our future.
Fit for a better world.
It starts now.
That was the last in a series of videos sent in to us by Lucy Coleman, a time lapse that she's been creating every day as her father, Gareth Coleman, sheep and beef farmer in Dannyverk, has been feeding out maize to the sheep and creating different pictures. If you'd like to feature on Sarah's Country or send in some of your videos, you're going to put them on Instagram anyway. Tag me, Sarah Perium, or put hashtag Sarah's Country NZ and I'll pick it up. But I also am always scrolling for some really cool things to smile about, like Gareth's last video there. Now, our poll tonight, are we doing enough to attract unemployed into the primary sector? Outstandingly, 87% of you say no. However, we have a comment in here from Rob Markley, who says, behind the scenes, there's a fair bit going on to get unemployed into ag and hort. Rob, if you're still listening, I'd like to know what specifically you're referring to. And as we head into an interesting time ahead for our primary sector training institutes being able to operate with an extended level 3 lockdown, there is a lot that we need to be able to bring people into the sector. Because, of course, our primary sector is part of the solution to this global food security concerns in the short term and is going to play a critical role in New Zealand's economic recovery after COVID-19. Of course, you would have heard reports that our kiwi fruit is now being picked by a workforce of over 90% rather than 50%. So we're talking to Chris Webb now, who got in touch over the weekend to come on the show, as you can too by emailing sarah@sarahperium.com. He is the treasurer of the Royal New Zealand Institute of Horticulture and is here to discuss that there's a wide range of jobs across the hort sector rather than just picking kiwi fruit. Welcome to the show, Chris, and thank you so much for reaching out to get in touch to come on the show. Firstly, can you just tell us a bit more about the Institute and who it represents across the board?
Royal New Zealand Institute of Horticulture is the oldest, most prestigious institute in New Zealand for horticulture. Having the royal warrant is obviously very important to us. The Institute looks after all aspects of horticulture with various different areas that we look after.
And
like we have with Trees Group, we also doing a lot of work.
Oh, sorry, Chris, it's just breaking.
And we're doing a lot of work
there
on the plant list in New Zealand of plants that are in New Zealand that are not necessarily recorded as by the Ministry of Primary Industries. I mean that plants can't get into the country if we want to bring that plant into the country, even though it is in the country. We also have awards for people who have done a lot of work for horticulture, fruit, plant raiser, and Associate of Honour and Garden History, and the fellowship. The plant raiser normally goes to, has in recent years gone to maybe ornamental horticulture as opposed to fruit growing and things like that, but we are hoping in this year to award a fruit grower, a man that's done a lot of work regarding fruit as a plant raiser.
So you wanted to speak tonight on the show about highlighting the wide range of jobs across the horticulture sector, from academia through to the frontline harvesting.
Well, that's correct. You know, horticulture can be in any part of New Zealand. You take a moment, there was some controversy last week about Southland, about getting tulip bulbs off to the USA for the planting in this autumn in about October in the USA. It's a big business in Southland. It employs a lot of people, both full-time and part-time. We go to the other end of the country to the far north, and we have avocados been growing on some of the what would land that normally wouldn't be useful. It's providing work for people in the far north. We have a very successful berry grower in the far north that's employing a large number of people that potentially would have been unemployed. Kiwi fruit industry, and as you mentioned, in the Bay of Plenty and other parts of New Zealand, we have apples in Otago, Nelson, Hawke's Bay, and squash and cut flowers and orchids. It's a huge industry, And that's just the commercial for our stomachs, but we also have the ornamental side for, people love gardening. Before the lockdown, what was the busiest places in town?
Couldn't buy seedlings.
Centres.
You couldn't buy seedlings, and you could still buy flour. So how's that?
You could buy, and you couldn't buy seeds at one stage either.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will encourage people to become interested again a bit more in gardening and horticulture. Always work out there. It's good work. Granted, it might be a bit hard physically, but you're out in fresh air. You have lots of skills, and you can do work overseas. Barbara Wheeler, who is a curator at Dunedin Botanical Gardens at the moment, she's worked in places like Sydney and Israel, and currently she's on a prestigious scholarship to the Longwood Botanical Gardens in Pennsylvania. Hope she can get home in a couple of months' time. So, there's an opportunity to see the world, learn new skills, make people happy, because you can turn out a garden and people love looking at gardens and plants. What do they say to us at the moment? Go and look at, walk in a park. Somebody has had the foresight 100 years ago or 50 years ago to plant trees, and they're getting the benefit of. You look at Hagley Park.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Christchurch Botanical Gardens is just an exact of what you were just saying there as well. The romance of gardening is certainly, I think, coming back with the nostalgia of a lot of things after lockdown. But imagine being able to make your passion into a career, and like you said, the health benefits of being in a physical role, but also potentially in an influential role around those physical roles as well. What sort of work do you think that we need to do in our training organisations? We're broadcast here out of Lincoln University, obviously the hub of a lot of training in these fields. What, in this new norm with COVID-19 affecting the way that we can consume knowledge, what's some of those opportunities do you think, Chris?
Well, I think in today, the sad events that have occurred in the last 3 or 4 weeks, there's going to be a big emphasis again on people doing jobs that might not have been in the gig economy, but still are very essential. So hopefully the careers advisors and people like that will at schools will encourage people to maybe work in horticulture, say it does have a future, just not for the bottom of the line people. You can go and work in plant science, like of land care research at Lincoln. You can go and work for a breeding company, breed, rust-resistant fruit or whatever it might be. You can then go and maybe have an engineering background and go and work for an organisation that's making better machinery to make things safer, sprays, all this sort of thing, research to make our plants healthier. There's so much opportunity out there, but people are not aware of it because it's not sort of a sexy industry. That's what we want to get through to especially the schools. The most important thing is for the youngsters to get their full driver's licenses so they can get out to work. Now, some firms today only want staff with full driver's licenses, and it's quite scary that Sarah went and got her driver's license a day after she turned the legal age.
And I can tell you they probably shouldn't have given it to me either, Chris.
23-year-olds haven't got their full driver's license, which is a liability for them, and they can't get a job because the employer, for insurance or whatever reason, want somebody with a full driver's license. So there's lots of little things help people get jobs. There's things like trees for survival, seedlings for service, which some of the schools around the country do. This is the only time that some of these kids today actually see what a tree looks like, literally, how to plant a tree, and it encourages them to go and maybe get a job doing horticulture. It could be something like working at a golf course. The golf courses are now being taken off the banned list of working.
Yeah.
The parks. Not everyone wants to have the high-flying job. But, there are opportunities to go up the ladder. When you get to the stage that you feel confident, you might be able to start your own business, be successful.
And can I say this? My brother-in-law did a Hort degree out of Cromwell Polytech. Went straight into a management role straight out of because he was a capable Kiwi with his head switched on, and the shortage was there. He was elevated really high, and now working in the avocado industry in Bay of Plenty. So, there's a huge amount of opportunities there to progress. And so thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Chris.
I'm pleased to do it, and
I really, really appreciate you reaching out and watching Sarah's Country and being an avid follower of what we're doing. So thank you so much, Chris. Now, of course, I know that in Farmers Weekly, they've just started a new concept called Ag in Ed, which is all about trying to encourage more agricultural learning within our education system so we can connect our children across the country, 59,000 of them, to be able to learn by osmosis throughout their curriculum. And now with this Education TV that's been announced, hey, what a great opportunity. Who wants to be an Agri Kids TV presenter? Well, obviously, I'll just stay here because I don't think I'm cut out for that. But look, this is all we've got time for tonight. I want to say thank you, Mark Warren, for trying to ring me live during a broadcast. You should know better than that. But yes, you now know that I have started reading your book, and what a great way to get through winter. Many a muddy morning, a real hoot. There's still so much to get used to. And to close the show, I found my bookmark was a card I had lying on the floor, which said, do what you can with what you have and where you are. And I thought, what a wonderful way to end tonight's show. That's all we have time for tonight. And let's do this all again tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
This is Sarah's Country.